Hello, my name's Della Hudson, and I'm the author of The Numbers Business: How to Grow a Successful Cloud Accountancy Practice. But I'm not here to talk about the book today. I'm here to talk to you about making tax digital. Now, I was asked to speak to a group of ICAEW accountants on this a couple of weeks ago, and I was quite shocked to learn that approximately 50% of accountants don't yet have anything in place for making tax digital. So I thought as well as speaking with that audience the other day, I would record a quick webinar to help those of you who haven't started on that journey yet or who are struggling to know what to do next. So I'd start off, I set up my business in 2009 and I was doing accounts on Excel and tax returns on the lovely HMRC clunky website. When I sold my business last year, it was highly systemized. It was pretty much MTD ready. We're waiting for the software companies to be confirmed as compliant by HMRC. And as a result, I was able to sell for 32% above the market rate for that period. So even if you're thinking of selling to avoid having to do MTD, here's a reason to get yourself as ready as possible. My journey started because I wanted to set up a business that was flexible enough to hang around my kids. And that meant that as well as being interested in the profit I was earning, I was also interested in the profit per hour because my hours were limited. In order to make the most of my precious work time, I had to systemize everything. So when it was just me, I systemized everything with a series of checklists that then grew into procedures and so on, just to save reinventing the wheel when I was doing repetitive work, things that were the same for every client. It was also very useful when it came to training new staff members and to delegating jobs to them, because as long as I was confident in the system, I could therefore be confident that they would do things to the right standard, which made it so much easier to delegate and get things off my plate. And part of that systemization involved using software. So we had various software in place, but essentially we tried, we moved from the spreadsheets onto VT and then onto a cloud-based software, Xero, which if you've read the book, you'll know I'm quite a fan. Now, there are other very good cloud-based software out there, but it happens to be my all-round favourite. Now, the reason that we like Xero is the amount of time it spends and the amount of automation that's available, as well as the way it hooks up to other business software. So it's the accounting hub at the centre of business. So in the same way you'd have a board of directors around a table representing all the various bits of business, then Xero and all its add-ons can do all the various bits of the business for you. So it's more than just accounting software, it's business software. So we just started down this path of automation when MTD was announced. Making tax digital, making tax difficult, however you like to think about it. So I went along to the HMRC consultations and we had three things that we asked for. One was that it shouldn't be compulsory. As you know, it is compulsory. Two was that it moved from the £10,000 turnover, which was frankly quite stupid. That wasn't, whilst businesses can benefit from having decent accounting software, £10,000 turnover is barely a business. It's a hobby, or it's a flat that you're letting out because you never managed to sell it or something like that. So £10,000 is ridiculous, and they changed that to the VAT registration limit, which is currently 85,000. Now, I'm recording this prior to the October budget, so who knows what that will be. And watch out for that, because it may be that you've got clients that you think are compliant who won't be as a result of that. You think are outside the scope, who'll need to be brought into it. And the third thing was we wanted longer to prepare, and as expected, HMRC introducing new systems are always, they always have delays, so that happened naturally anyway. And whilst they often say that they have the delays and the soft landings to help accountants, my personal view is that it's because HMRC are struggling themselves. But whatever the reason, we got what we wanted. So having had our moan and having had 2 out of the 3 things we wanted changed, we then came back to looking at what we were going to do. And it was quite clear that whilst we were waiting for the specific things, that basically regular bookkeeping on a proper accounting system would serve everything that we needed to do. Now, I ruled out Excel with bridging software because if you're going to pay a little bit for bridging software, you may as well pay a little bit more and get some of the business benefits. Bearing in mind this is VAT registered businesses, so they can either get better information coming out, better management information, or they can have some of the efficiencies of being able to use things like the Xero bank feeds. So we started moving them onto Xero. The bank feeds mean that you can connect your bank automatically and upload your bank statement. So it's there sitting in Xero, and then you can set up some bank rules that tell the standard transactions where they should be coded. So each month when you upload the statement, or daily, whatever you want to do, you just click OK, 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 or correct it if you want to change one of the default rules that you've set up. So the first month we'd upload the statement and spend time setting the bank rules, so we didn't save any time. The second month we'd be down to about half the time because a lot of the bank rules were there, but not everything, because you get transactions 1 month that you haven't had a previous month and so on. But by the third month we were down to about a quarter of the time for the bank input and reconciliation compared to doing it manually, which meant that we could do 4 times as much work and bill 4 times as much in fees. And that helped to offset the cost of the software, in fact more than offset the cost of the software. So we're there getting more work done and more income. The benefit to clients of something like Xero is that they can, when they're out on site, they can issue their invoices from the phone so they don't forget to invoice anything. They can use iZettle or something to take payment for that straight away, so that they've got the payment before they've even left the client site. So the client's benefiting. We also used to use, for clients that were of a reasonable size, we'd use Receipt Bank, and we found that broke even at 16 purchase invoices and receipts per month compared to the cost of manually inputting by a junior. So it works much the same way as the Xero bank rules. You can have supplier rules. So you take a photograph, and even the oldest IT illiterate clients can usually manage to take a photograph of their grandchildren on their phone. So it'd be quite simple. They could do this, and then we would have a screen with a picture of the invoice that side, and with the supplier rules, it would pre-code it. It would pick up the VAT from the invoice, so the VAT was right. If the client had taken a photograph of the till receipt by mistake, of the credit card receipt by mistake, it wouldn't be a valid VAT invoice, and therefore Receipt Bank wouldn't put VAT on it. So it was quite clever in that respect. It also meant that clients would take the photographs of their invoices straight away before they'd had an opportunity to lose them down the back of the sofa, or for them to get faded on the dashboard of their van or whatever. So they were reducing their tax bill by claiming more costs and claiming more VAT on those. The other thing that was quite useful, we discovered Move My Books. So if you wanted to move a a client over from other software, then this would happen usually in less than an hour. I think they say contact them if it hasn't happened in 24 hours, but we'd find it usually happened in less than an hour. And previously, we had been paying a bookkeeper to spend a day taking just the month-end invoices, the month-end balances, so that we had some comparatives for management accounts, but we were able to actually have full transaction history, line by line, for everything up to 2 years. So we could move clients mid-year. I'd say don't move them mid-VAT period. We had to do it on one client who was on an annual VAT scheme. And it was an interesting VAT reconciliation. So move my books. I'll talk separately about that if anyone's interested, but I think it's a good bit of a good resource. So we've had the software, we knew what we wanted to do, so we had to sort our clients to see what we needed to do with them. So we did a bit of triage. Those who had monthly or quarterly management accounts would be pretty much compliant. We could put in the quarterly adjustments for whatever HMRC require, and in much the same way as we do the accounting stuff. So as far as I was concerned, they were dealt with till we hear the exact requirements that HMRC want on their income reporting. And they're already sorted for VAT for next year. Any clients below 85,000 turnover are also dealt with. Like I say, watch what happens in the budget in October. Those who had good bookkeeping for a simple business probably didn't need any quarterly adjustments for the tax return. So we just continue as we were. So either them doing the bookkeeping or us doing the bookkeeping, as long as it's good quality and there's no need for any mid-year adjustments. We just pick that up at the year end. The ones with good bookkeeping but more complex, sadly, we would need to do some additional work. We would need to put in some tax adjustments, or potentially put in some tax adjustments each quarter. But they were okay for the VAT, so we'll deal with the tax adjustments in much the same way we would for those that we were doing management accounts for. And then we came down to the remaining businesses that were on Excel, or they had no or poor bookkeeping. So we piggybacked on the changes in the flat rate VAT scheme. So for those of you who can remember, there were a lot of consultants we're using at a lot of service businesses, and they lost their beneficial rate. So we were able, with Xero and Receipt Bank, to offer a bookkeeping service at a reasonable fee. And we contacted them all individually and offered them our in-year bookkeeping service. And for most of them, the fee worked out roughly the amount of extra VAT that they'd be able to claim as a result of moving onto the standard scheme. So instead of paying the money as VAT, they were paying it to us. So they were no worse off. And a lot of people actually thanked us because we explained that this would also mean that they were ready for making tax digital. So we had happy clients thanking us for charging them more, which is quite an unusual situation, but it was a lovely thing to happen.